Good evening. We're going to open up the school committee meeting on Tuesday, June 24th, 2025. Just want to let everyone know that we just exited executive session and now returning to open session. Just like always, like to open up with the Pledge of Allegiance, so I'd ask everyone to stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now I'm going to read the mission statement of Wakefield Public Schools. The vision of the Wakefield Public Schools is to graduate students who are confident, lifelong learners, who are respectful and caring members of their community. Our mission is to prepare students for college, career, and community by providing a rich and challenging curriculum, high-quality instruction, and educational experiences that meet their individual needs and interests. Next, we'd like to enter into public comments. So at this point, any member of the public who wants to address the school committee can either here or on Zoom can definitely come up. So if anyone is here to speak on public comment, you can go to the chairs with a microphone.
Yes.
Welcome. Oh.
We appreciate the opportunity to speak in the public comment. My name is Ann Herzog, I'm speaking for my daughter. So I am speaking as myself and
Hold
my
on
family.
1 second, sorry.
Thank you. All good?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm speaking on behalf of myself and my family tonight. We're parents of 2 current Wakefield Memorial High School students and 2 graduates of Wakefield Memorial High School, one who graduated from Cornell University and one who's a senior at Boston College. And tonight I have comments on a couple of different issues. The first thing I wanted to mention was an article last week in the Boston Globe on June 19th that a Wakefield Public Schools student was without an educational placement for 17 months. The article labeled this child educationally abandoned and went on to say the child's mother has repeatedly sought help from the Wakefield Public Schools to no avail. Legal documentation viewed by the Globe shows Wakefield did not provide him any educational services as he awaited a school placement such as tutoring in his home by a special education teacher. So as I said, this was deeply concerning to me, and I hope is concerning to the district as well. And clearly we need to do better for all children in our district. And I do hope that the district has met with this family and that there's a thorough review of the situation so that this doesn't happen again. So, and secondly, I wanted to speak to an item on the agenda for the superintendent's comments about the cell phone and device ban proposed by Wakefield Memorial High School. I do believe that it's potentially dangerous for children who use devices as an accommodation for their disabilities. And just to define accommodation, this refers to necessary and appropriate modifications and adjustments to ensure that persons with disabilities can enjoy all the human rights and fundamental freedoms as everybody else. We believe that this change is being advanced too hastily and without consideration for feedback from all stakeholders, including the disability community. Several weeks ago, all families of students at Wakefield High received an email from Principal McLeod describing a proposed update to the high school handbook. The email stated, cell phone and listening devices are not allowed to be used during the school day and should be put away when students enter homeroom. Students are strongly encouraged to leave cell phone and devices at home instead of bringing them into the building. It goes on to say cell phones must be kept silent and stored away during the entire school day. We think this proposal is to be being developed too fast and goes too far. In my opinion, it is developed from an ableist perspective, the idea that no child needs a device or a cell phone, and that perspective is wrong. You all may have heard of a high school student named Viraj Danda. He has autism and is non-speaking. After years of being mislabeled as having an intellectual disability, he was recently accepted to MIT because he has learned to use a device to communicate and to demonstrate his knowledge. Devices can be life-changing and life-saving. When a cell phone ban was implemented at the Galvin Middle School, it proved to be disastrous for our family, causing more harm than good. I'd be happy to share more about this privately, but suffice it to say there's no need to villainize the use of devices. Students with disabilities rely on smartphones and other devices to assist them with communication, medical needs, scheduling, note-taking, calming techniques, and more. These students have the right to access needed assistive technology under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act and Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. According to the Council of Parent Attorneys and Advocates, when federal, state, and local governments develop and finalize policies intending to limit student screen time on a computer or use of a cellular phone or other electronic devices, these entities must take care to ensure that no policy or its provisions directly conflict or interfere with a student's rights and opportunities under IDEA Section 504 and Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act. We also believe that banning cell phones completely in the school setting in the middle of a severe mental health crisis for young people seems irresponsible. Under this proposal, students would lose access to phone-based crisis lines such as Hey Sam, a dedicated peer-to-peer texting service sponsored by the Samaritans for young people up to age 25 who are lonely, depressed, or having thoughts of suicide. Students would also not be able to access the 988 Suicide and Crisis Hotline, 911, or other emergency resources that have been researched and proven to be effective tools in the mental health crisis. There is currently not enough research, evidence, or guidance to determine that the proposed cell phone ban would have more positive effects than negative ones, especially on our students with disabilities.
There also is not yet enough scientific evidence to support the popular belief that smartphones are the cause or contributing to the youth mental health crisis, and I encourage you to review the work of Dr. Peter Gray, who recently was a Parent University speaker in Wakefield. He writes, "I fear to a considerable degree we as a society are scapegoating social media because we lack the courage to confront the real causes and make the social changes we should be making. A recent study by Vuar and Shabalsky provides further evidence against the hypothesis that the introduction of internet technology results in declining adolescent mental health. There is, however, research to demonstrate the benefits of students with disabilities having access to smartphones, such as the work of Aaron and Jane. We strongly encourage everyone here to work with students to develop boundaries and skills so they can use their cell phones responsibly in the high school setting. We encourage dialogue about the challenges associated with social media use, but also dialogue about how cell phones and devices can be useful and life-saving for many people. I wonder, has our student body been surveyed to see how students are using their phones at school? Are our students using them for their film and their music classes, as coping tools for building relationships, for developing executive function skills, as a life-saving medical device for organization, communication, or any other things? To my knowledge, we have not asked our students how they're using their devices. We're only adamant about taking them away. And I can say that the CPAC has not been consulted about this handbook change as well. I'm sure you're all familiar with Massachusetts Senate Bill 323. I brought a copy of it. This proposes to limit devices in school, and it's called an Act Providing for Phone-Free Schools. And this state proposal, which has not yet been scheduled for a vote, contains language that says, each school district shall engage in a public comment period to receive feedback from school leaders, educators, families, students, and relevant stakeholders while developing a policy. The proposed bill states that not later than 6 months after the effective date of this act, which has not yet been voted on, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education shall issue guidance for school districts to consider when drafting and adopting such a policy. Schools would then have an additional 6 months to develop their own policies according to this bill. And I'm questioning whether there is a reason that the Wakefield Memorial High School's proposal must be fast-tracked through during the summer months before DESE issues this proposed guidance, without students and family being surveyed for feedback, and before the move to the new high school in 2027. To my knowledge, there has been no public comment period regarding this policy or change as the proposed state bill recommends. And Michaela's going to speak to this a bit too, but we also encourage you to consider the use of a senior privilege for the class of 2026. They will soon be adults, and many of them will be attending universities and will need to know how to use their devices responsibly and independently. Ms. McLeod's email also mentions the school taking devices away from students as a consequence of using them during the school day, and I wanted to ask, how will the confiscated phones be monitored, since each of these devices can have a value of well over $1,000? Will they be locked in a safe? Will the district assume liability if a confiscated device is lost or broken while in the district's custody? I respectfully ask all of you to consider all of these points. We believe the handbook proposal to ban cell phone use is potentially harmful to students, especially our most vulnerable students. Social media use and access is a completely different issue, and banning or restricting access to social media during school hours may be a much more appropriate measure. However, under this proposal, students will continue to have access to social media on their laptops during the school day. Because this change to the handbook would have such a huge and potentially damaging implications for students with disabilities, I strongly recommend that the district takes time to consider input from all stakeholders and to consider upcoming guidance from DESE before taking any new action, such as a change to the handbook. If we truly want Wakefield High School students to develop to their highest potential, we have to be more creative and flexible than simply endorsing a fast-track ban on cell phones. Thank you. I'm going to hand it over to Michaela.
Hi, I'm Michaela Herzog, and I'm a rising senior at WMHS. I'm also here to talk about the phone policy. First of all, I'd like to note that many of the class of 2026 will be adults this coming school year, including myself. I will be turning 18 in September. Upon turning 18, I will be able to vote, consent to my own medical care, or join the military. In every other aspect of life, I will be treated as an adult, but the second I will walk into my high school, a place that is supposed to prepare me for the future, I will be treated as a child with this new phone policy. In all other future endeavors we may pursue after high school, myself and the rest of my class will be expected to be able to use our cell phones responsibly, and high school is meant to prepare us for that. However, this phone policy does the complete opposite. Furthermore, a big part of why this policy makes me so frustrated is because I have been looking forward to the memories my senior year will bring for most of my life. I have seen every other grade in the last 10 years get to document these memories through their cameras on their cell phones, but my grade will not have this opportunity. We are the last graduating class that will not experience the new high school, and now we will not be able to document the last year of WMHS as we know it. Because of all this, I would ask that if the policy were to proceed, seniors with grades in good standing be exempt from this policy, much like the current senior privilege policy in place pertaining to ASCs. Another argument that could come forward from this policy is that it could actually be detrimental to the social life of every student at WMHS. Lunch is the one time that most of us see many of our friends during the school day. By not permitting us to use our phones during ASC and only allowing them during lunch, it is very likely that this could lead to everyone being on their phones during lunch, causing the social scene at WMHS to overall deteriorate. I'd also like to add that I know from personal experience that if a student is using their cell phone at ASC, more often than not it is because they have finished all their work and have nothing more to work on, rather than because they are avoiding doing their homework. I would argue that with both of these points, that if there is going to be only one period where phones are permitted to be used, ASC is a much better time for this than lunch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else here for public comment online?
Is anybody on Zoom? No one's on Zoom.
No one's on Zoom?
No one's on Zoom.
Okay. All right, because there's no one on Zoom, we're going to close out public comments. And we're going to move to the next item on the agenda, where we are going to recognize a certain town administrator who I believe is retiring. So,
I'm actually looking forward to getting rid of myself. Not to make light of the argument, but still.
I'm going to join you.
Oh, boy.
so one of our school committee members, Tom Markham, I think is going to make a presentation for us.
Thank you. And welcome, Steve, to what hopefully will not be your last, maybe your last official school committee meeting as a town administrator. I wanted to sit next to you for a little bit of theater.
Okay.
In full disclosure, but really more to say thank you for partnership. That so often. We have sat across the table from each other, but not tonight. It's entirely appropriate that we, the school committee as assembled here, plus every school committee in the last 17 years, has nothing but a debt of gratitude, as do the citizens and the students and the families and every faculty member that you have helped us support. Every faculty member, every teacher, every paraprofessional, every support person that we've helped put in front of a child has been because of the type of advocacy that we've all done, but that advocacy hasn't fallen on the deaf ears.
I never felt we were on opposite sides of the table.
No,
No.
no, and we certainly weren't.
Right.
Even in our most disagreeable
Yes.
times, we were nothing but.
We had a few.
But engaged in the work. You had a vision that you shared and you helped us all bring to life. I think you have now hit from the time that you appeared in this 1980s Wakefield Memorial High School yearbook. This is now 45 years later.
That hurts, but that's okay.
Well, it's just math. It's all math.
It's all math,
It's
yeah.
just math. But in that time, you have been a stalwart leader for our town. You know, as a citizen, as an activist, as an appeals board member, as a member of the Board of Selectmen, and as a volunteer across any number of things, never mind as our town administrator.
Really, my first foray was on the Ewell Greenwood School Council, interestingly enough. So education's kind of in my blood. Doug knows that.
Yeah, that is very true, and I think that has certainly helped, at least in some of our partnership. I mean, our dads were partners in education
Absolutely,
together. So there's a piece of that there. But I just wanted to share some initial thoughts on not just on behalf of myself. I know others were going to sort of chime in, but I very much wanted to thank you for your years of leadership, for your vision, and you have helped build this school district in some ways, brick by brick. That it's incumbent upon all the educators that the school committee employs, but if it weren't through town, partnerships and being able to construct the Galvin, make monumental changes at Woodville and Greenwood and Dahlberg, or reopen the Doyle in the way that it has, and certainly our construction out behind here now, all of those things are possible through the capital support that Town Hall gave us under your leadership.
Well,
So
I have said over the years, we rise and fall together. And I think that for the most part, over the last few years, we've risen together. I go back to 2008 when I was appointed, and in November of that year, we got a letter from the governor's office saying they were cutting local aid $500,000. Now, that's like cutting $1 million at the beginning of your budget year, and I know that doesn't sound right, but those of us that work with budgets, you only have half a year to cut that $500,000, so it's like cutting $2 million. So I think Cheryl Ford was the chair of the school committee at the time, and Betsy Sharon was the chair of the town council, and Joan Landers was the superintendent, and we sat down at the round table in my office, same round table that's there now, and painfully worked together to cut $500,000 as partners. It wasn't like, we talk about, percentages, and we've talked about that for years, and that makes some sense in some ways. But we made it work, and nobody lost their jobs, no programs stopped, and we learned that by working together we can make that work. So I completely appreciate the partnership. Love working with Doug. I'm going to miss him a lot. And I do ask that I get invited to the grand opening, maybe a tour ahead of time. Just want to make sure I get invited. I want to stand in the back. I just want to make sure I get invited. But no, we've done great things together, and my three boys all graduated from Wakefield High School, as did I, as did my wife, who's also in this book 45 years ago. And I have 2 grandchildren that attend Wakefield Public Schools, so I couldn't be happier and couldn't be more pleased that we got a chance to work together, and in the friendship we've encouraged over the years. And Tom and I haven't always agreed at all. But we went out afterwards and had a beverage together and moved on to the next.
And made it work.
And made it work. So I do appreciate. And I know what you guys do every day is really amazing, and my hat is off to you. I have a lot of issues, but you have those same issues, and then you have the education of students on top of that. That's really commendable in all of you. So thank you.
Does anyone have any comments?
I would say just thank you. I think I probably moved to Wakefield about when you were appointed as administrator, so it's been I wasn't as in tune to town politics, probably in the management of the town at that time, but I just remember as I sort of got more involved, you've always been incredibly open, and as hard as it is, you make it look easy.
Oh.
And I think we've benefited from that that level of collaboration and the way that you advocate sort of on the state level, and even with sort of town agencies sort of on the behalf of not just us, but on each other. And so I think you see the forest for the trees. You kind of recognize all of our problems and all of our sort of solutions, and I think you help people collaborate better. You're a connector.
Thank you.
And I think Wakefield is I don't think it would be the town it is today without you being in the seat that you've been in for all these years.
Thank you.
And so to Tom's point about you don't just sort of serve this population, it's like a web that you just sort of scatter out, and you serve so many others through your advocacy and the way you guide. So thank you so much for that. I assume it's harder than it looks, but you make it look easy.
We have
And,
great staff on both sides.
Yeah,
So
you'll be missed.
It really makes a difference. But thank you.
Just really quickly, I remember when going to the retirement party for Tony Butler and kind of thinking about, you taking over in that position and what role you would play. And I knew you'd do a great job, but, certainly didn't anticipate 17 years later the great work that I think the town has done. Like you said, the great team that you've assembled, the collaboration that we have had. I remember some of those early years, like really difficult financial challenges. So
We took zeros one year.
Yeah.
We took a zero
Yeah.
one year. Imagine that.
Yeah, it was a
Across the
totally
board.
different experience.
Yeah.
But thank you for your leadership and your partnership with us in particular. I remember certainly the help, during our last contract negotiation that Saturday when you were there, and just really have always valued
That all day Saturday.
That all
the
day
only night
Saturday, that's
Saturday
right.
all winter. Okay, that Saturday.
But we got it.
That's the one.
That's right. But we got it done, and,
We
and
did.
certainly
We did.
I think you were helpful in that process
you.
as well. So, I think for those of us, there are some big names that we think of in Wakefield, and your dad, Dr. Mayer, was one of them, and I think certainly you'll be well remembered for many into the future about your contributions here and all the different roles that Tom had described. So, thank you very much. I hope you have a great retirement. and
Thank you.
I know you'll be around, so we'll see you again.
So to have a town manager publicly say over and over again, as the schools go, so goes the town. And you said that at your retirement party. You said it multiple times publicly. I don't think that can be overemphasized, because that message that you're sending, not just to us, not just to the knowledge that you have our back, but to the whole town, to citizens that might not want to support the schools, but when they hear their town manager or person they respect say that, I don't think you can overemphasize the importance of that position that you've taken. So what impressed me most about, because I don't know you that well, we've only known each other for 3 years, but that public perspective that you share, I think is very very helpful. So thank you very much.
I actually think it's hard to do it any other way. So,
Yeah.
but thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So, on behalf of all of the administrators, faculty, and staff from the Wakefield Public Schools, there's almost 600 of us. All of us, I'm speaking on behalf of everyone now, are grateful to have had the opportunity to work with you, and I think sometimes people forget that, and I'm glad Kevin brought this up, your dad was a former superintendent of schools, Dr. Mayo. Jean, your wife, was a teacher within the Wakefield Public Schools. Your brother-in-law was on the school committee, right? Which
My mother was a teacher too. I want it noted. I remember.
you always say this.
I'd be in
I
big
did-
trouble.
But I bring that up because I don't think that made your job easier. I think if anything, it made it more difficult. But I think that, I can honestly say, I've been in different leadership positions for almost 20 years now. Prior to being a school teacher, I was an engineer, and I worked on a ship in the military, and I've done a number of things. I don't know that I've ever worked with a more solutions-based leader, where you're not about kind of, taking sides as much as you're about coming up with sustainable solutions to problems. And I'm really, really proud of the support that you've provided to us. And you're right, so go the town, so go the schools, and vice versa. And so I think that we too live by that saying and believe it. So we're grateful to have had the opportunity to work with you. Grateful. And so we can't thank you enough. And
I'm grateful as well. It's been
Yeah.
a great partnership.
So we think that July, you'll have all of July to work on your golf slice, or you'll spend
That's right.
July with Jean.
Right.
August, you'll work on your golf slice, and I think what you'll be hopefully thinking about maybe running for school committee or town council or something unique. But all joking aside, I don't want to make any light of this, but I'm grateful. So thank you, and I think we are all grateful. So
Thank you.
So we have a card, which we'd like to share, obviously, and
Small
and
card.
you can certainly take home and enjoy. One of the things at the top of the card
Oh,
represents the
geez.
45
Okay.
years that we spoke about earlier, from your high school yearbook picture to just a couple of months ago at the groundbreaking for this building.
I'm sure WCAT could televise or put those pictures right up on the website.
Yeah.
That's quite all right.
And we found a great quote that thought that immediately you came to mind. It says, "School is a building which has four walls with tomorrows inside." You have helped us build the buildings and therefore make the tomorrows available for generations of Wakefield families.
Well, I got to say, based on, with the help of the Board of Selectmen, Town Council now, Finance Committee and School Committee and staff, when you think about it, the way the community rallied around the Galvin and the high school, those are unheard of votes, not only at town meeting, but at the ballot. And I think that resonates, resonates certainly with the state when we go to the SBA, and it resonates with when we go for our bond ratings and what have you. And I just think it resonates in what the community thinks we can do together. So I'm happy to be a part of that. And I thank you for, sharing that, allowing me to share that with you. So, thank you. This is fabulous.
And
Thank you.
have a Wakefield strong bag, once a warrior, always a warrior.
Thank you.
So just a couple of items from the Wakefield
Thank you so much.
Wakefield gift shop.
Thank you.
And don't be a stranger.
I will not be a stranger. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Keep up the good work, and remember, please invite me to the grand opening. But I understand I'm going to get a tour at some point ahead of time.
Indeed.
But I think when there's floors and things like that. No. Thank you, and good luck, and I'll be around. So, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I'm leaving the yearbook. There's two in my house. So. Thank you. Good luck tonight.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item number 8. We have a consent agenda, and I think we have a motion.
Yes, move that the school committee approve the minutes of the June 10th, 2025 school committee meeting.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, I think we can enter into a roll call vote. Is that me?
That's just all in favor.
Oh, we just do all in favor?
Yeah.
My bad. All right, all in favor? And the vote is unanimous, 5-0. Okay. Next, for budget items, I think we're going to move to Christine.
So tonight we have Dustin O'Brien will be joining us at 7:45. So we might want to come back to this, but to talk tonight about the transfer between the school department and the town.
Sounds good. So we're going to move this out of order. Dr. Lyons, do you want to maybe hit one of your items until we get to 7:45?
I'm sure. Happy to do it. So if I could I'm going to jump to Amy McLeod, who's joining us via Zoom tonight. Good evening, Amy. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Fantastic. And so Amy has worked with her faculty and staff over the course of the year, along with the AG's, the Attorney General Campbell's guidance on developing new language for either policies or handbook language. And I'm really pleased pleased with the work that has been done. I think, I don't know if, I think Amy can speak to kind of a number of different things that I think are important. I think for me, the important things are, and something that we've never deviated from is, when a student needs a device, I don't want people to watch this meeting and go away thinking, if my son or daughter needs a device for communication, if they need a device because of their disability or their IEP or 504, they will be provided that device without condition. Without condition. Additionally, if someone needs support for medical reasons or for social emotional reasons, we've always put those things right out there as priorities. And I know that this is part of the work that Amy's team has done. I just feel like that's important for me to bring up, because again, I don't want someone who might be watching this evening to think that any language we put together lacked consideration, right? And one of the reasons why we're bringing this forward tonight is to give the community runway to represent our work that we're creating. And so, we will vote on handbook language later in the summer, in August, when we move forward all of our handbooks like we've done in the past number of years. So I hope that's a reasonable intro, Amy. I don't want to steal any of your thunder, but I know you've worked really hard on this, and I want to turn it over to you to talk a little bit about that.
Thank you, Doug. And I would say that I think the whole school has worked hard on this. This is something, so good evening, everybody. The language that we shared with you is something that we have been working on this school year. It comes to you at this time because this is the time of the year where we start looking at handbook language. And so I know it's unfortunate that this happens over the summer, but this is when we sort of codify our language to move forward for next year. I just want to give you a little background on how this came about. As you may or may not know, the policy at the high school has been, or the approach for cell phones at the high school as written in our handbook, has been that cell phones are not to be used in classrooms except for educational purposes. Most of our teachers have used something that we call a cell hotel, where cells are stored away when students come in the classroom in sort of a, I don't know, people are giggling, we call them cell hotels, sorry. It's a file folder with numbers, and students can store their phones in there. And so feedback that we've gotten over the last few years, actually, is that this doesn't seem to be working for a number of reasons. Number one, it is distracting. The phones are still in the room. Students are asking to take those phones and go to the bathroom. Often when students leave the classroom, they're grabbing the phones out of the cell hotel that are near the door. And number two, we do have students who come to school with multiple cell phones. I'd like to say that that's a very rare occurrence, but it isn't. So they put other cell phone in the hotel, and then they have another cell phone on them. And then number three, like the conversation at the high school level, I don't want to speak for all levels, has been that cell phones are troubling on two counts, right? I don't disagree with anything that's been brought up as that they can be a tool to help. They can, and when used correctly, they can be, and that is our goal to educate students. But they've also been incredibly distracting. They're incredibly hard for teachers to regulate when they're trying to teach, because their primary objective is to teach the class, not to manage cell phones in their classroom. And then also number three is the consistency, right? The consistency of the policy has been difficult, or the consistency of the approach at the high school. So what we did this year in faculty meetings is we looked at our current language in our handbook, and we said, okay, as teachers, if we would like to see some changes in our language and our approach, what would that be? And so we had teachers look at the language that was currently in the policy. We started this around February. We had them sort of tear apart that language, talk about what they would like to see added, what they would like done differently. We brought back a couple of iterations to the faculty a few times, and then we kind of landed where we are now, which is the language that I share that you have been given around where we'd like to go. So what we're proposing in the handbook for next year is that it is not, I wouldn't consider it a ban on cell phones, but we are taking an approach that cell phones should be off and away during academic times. We understand as high school students, as young adults, students should be able to manage their own devices, to sort of have those devices on them, I think is okay with us. But off and away, meaning that they're either in a bag or in a bag or a pouch or something that they carry with them, so that they are not out during classrooms. They're not in their hands when they're walking down the hallways, bumping into one another, because we do see that. They are not sitting on the desks, waiting for the little green light to sort of distract them, or the little buzz to distract them. And so we are proposing that from the entire academic day, from 7:30 to 2:10, cell phones be off and away. The exception to these, to that general rule, I think Doug started to speak about that. Number one, we think that during lunchtime, during a social time, if students want to take their phones out, the faculty thinks that's completely acceptable. We actually find that during lunch, students are often looking things together. So I like what Michaela said about the fear of students looking at their phones. Anecdotally, administration is in the lunchroom every day. We find that students look at phones together, so it actually can be a very social thing, which is also why sometimes it's distracting in classrooms. So that's one piece of it. I think another piece of it is that for educational purposes, we have classrooms where students use those phones to make videos in the TV production class. In our graphic design and some of our photography situations, students are taking those phones, taking photographs with them. Those will be allowed. There will even be times in classrooms where teachers might say students are going to work on a small video or a small PowerPoint presentation, where a teacher may allow students at that point, for an educational purpose, to use a phone. But we hope that that is minimized, right? We hope that the fact that we're a BYOD school, that we have computers for every student, laptops, that those should be minimal amounts of time. The classrooms that are going to use those phones, we've thought about that and talk about a pass system. So students who are out and about filming or taking photographs, even yearbook people, as Michaela said, we would have passes for them so that they could use their phones to take photographs during the day. We don't want to see any of those positive ways change as well. And finally, I think a really important piece is that we know that our students have all different sorts of learning needs and other needs that need to be supported by their teams. We have been already talking about that, how that will be implemented, how students will be supported by their teams, whether that's by their IEP team or their 504 team, or even the counseling staff, if students have different needs. They could be medical needs, they could be learning needs, other. We will find ways for those students to be able to access their phone as needed. Again, the phones aren't banned, right? We did make that suggestion in the letter that, teachers wanted to see that suggestion, that maybe parents would think about having students leave their cell phones at home. But we know that's probably not going to be the case for the vast majority of students. So we're really asking for those phones to be off and away. So just a couple of things. I do think that that the research that we've looked at, I think there's a vast amount of research that talks about how distracting cell phones are in the educational setting. I'm deeply concerned about the connection we see between behavioral incidents and not only social media, but texting, taking phone shots of each other. And while we do handle those disciplinarily, for those of you who are in a classroom setting, you know how easily it is for a student to grab a phone and do something with it very quickly when it's out. But if it's off and away, that becomes more of a challenge for a student to access that phone. It also teaches students to have some downtime from their phones, right? Research is showing how many hours a day averagely a student is using a cell phone. It's going well above 4 and 5 hours a day averagely, which to the educators at Wakefield Memorial High School is too much. So we're trying to minimize that time during the day so that students have that opportunity to focus on academics. I think that's kind of the overall. There are some outlines that we put in the language around how we see it being enforced. A sliding scale of how we address discipline is what we always do, commensurate with always a first time, a warning, a conversation. And then it sort of progresses from there, right? Progressive discipline would be then teaching that student that if it happens again, there would be more progressive discipline, getting an administrator involved to take the cell phone to the main office where it would be kept safe at the main office. We're not asking teachers to hold cell phones in classrooms. I don't think that that's their responsibility. We think that's the administrator's responsibility. And then eventually, if the behavior continues, bringing families into that conversation to say, how do we support this student to make better choices and really to look at their device habits. Again, there's a lot of language in the handout about that we'd like to see in the handbook. But again, really focusing on classroom expectations, hallway expectations being consistent across the building. And that request around consistency across the building came from teachers specifically. They really want to support one another to be consistent so that one of them doesn't have to, they don't have to play good cop, bad cop. That's never fun. We feel that the language here captures that. I'm sure there's lots of questions. I just, I don't want to talk for days, so I'm going to let you ask the question. Sorry. Thank you.
Okay, does anyone have any questions?
I'll ask a question. Hi, Amy, it's Stephen. I'm curious, because basically, I feel like sort of a little bit like deja vu. I feel like we've heard this from Meg Webb at the Galvin before we implemented the Yonder program. And I know it's a different cohort of students. They're different times in their lives. They, their exposure to digital devices has been, they've had exposure to it, much longer than kids at the middle school. But I'm just curious if in your research, if you've talked to the middle school about what that looked like for them, what their challenges were, what their successes were. And I'm just curious if you have. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So I think the difference, the piece that we talked about is the challenge of trying to take phones away from high school students where the pouches in the middle school have been effective to do that. I think that the difference is developmentally, right? And this is something that we're seeing in the workforce. So even when our students were going out to internships, this was a conversation with the places where they were doing internships, is how do we get our students to have their phones on them? Because as young adults, they may need them. They may have an emergency. They may need to make a call. How do we keep them kind of off and away? And so I think with Meg, the conversation, the big pieces that came up with Megan's team, not just Meg, is that the consistency piece across all teachers sort of believing in this, buying into it, seeing the importance of it, and being willing to constantly educate students of the why, right? Because we know that not all families are going to agree with this. We know that all students, definitely, we've previewed this with students, and they don't agree with it. But really trying to support their understanding of why we think it's developmentally appropriate for you to have limited screen time during the day while you're in an academic setting. And so I think the difference between middle school and high school is that accessibility piece, right? Being able to say, okay, we know that as young adults, you can come to school, you can be in the cafeteria in the morning because we have lots of students in the building early, you can have your phones, but at 7:30, they go away. And that would be the expectation for the adults in the building too. And even our administrative team has talked about that. We spend a lot of time during the day communicating when we're around the building via text. And we're talking about how do we keep our phones off and away and in our offices and not communicate that way anymore. And believe me, it's much easier for us to communicate via cell phone, but we've got to model a different strategy because we are, and I say we, the big we, teachers, administrators, faculty, staff at Wakefield Memorial High School are concerned about the amount of screen time everybody's using. So I don't know if that answers your question, Stephen.
It does, and I actually like your addition on the end about sort of having it be sort of a campus-wide sort of thought, because even adults spend too much time on their screens. Like, we are as guilty of it as our kids. We're sitting there asking our kids to get off their phone, but the minute they come and talk to us, we're scrolling something. So just if the whole ecosphere is a little bit less device-driven, I totally understand the challenges that you're talking about.
Right.
You start to wonder, like, what did we do 20 years ago? But, there had to have been a way.
Well, right. Yeah. And I think that, I don't need to say more than that.
Thank you. That did answer my question. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any? Pete?
I fully realize my opinions on the topic are not aligned with the Commonwealth, and I know the struggles that you're dealing with in classrooms, Amy, and my comments are certainly not to take any of those comments to not be serious. But my concern is that many students use these as tools to communicate with their teachers when they get emails about assignments. They use the Saturn app to keep track of their schedule. They're not carrying around pieces of paper. There's many students using it responsibly to take notes during the day. And I'm not saying necessarily students need that in the classroom when they should be paying attention, but I definitely am concerned with that aspect of the tool being shut off outside of lunchtime. I think this is not 20 years ago. These are tools that these kids are going to be moving off to the real world and getting jobs and going to college, and they're going to have to learn how to be productive with these things and use them. And I fully realize that a lot of it's going to be fed to us whether we like it or not because of the legislature and the stuff that's currently in front of us. But my viewpoint is that there are a lot of students who are, I realize not everybody, and there's a lot of distractions, but there are a lot of students using these as very responsible tools to actually be more productive students. And we're making them less productive and taking away tools that they should be learning how to be productive and use. And it's something that I'm personally concerned about.
No, I appreciate that. I do, and I think that's been part of our conversations as well. A good example of that, Pete, would be when students want to in an ASC listen to because we're talking about earbuds too, right? Because so many kids have earbuds in and they don't hear us in the hallways. It's a safety issue. But if a student wants to listen to something that's maybe a Spanish lesson or a Spanish oral, a video or a tutorial, how are we going to handle that, right? So it's a question that we need to answer as a school for time when students have that time. So I wouldn't say that the way that we're going to approach this precludes moving forward and finding some more exceptions that may be built in here, right? But I would say that I think we feel with the devices that we have in school and the one-to-one piece, it does take a lot of that need to take notes on a device away from a phone because you have it on your device. You have a laptop. I do agree with you about the schedules, something that we're talking about. How do we accommodate kids who normally like to look at schedules on their phones? Again, I would go back to what Stephen just said. What did we do 20 years ago when we had schedules, right? We're over-reliant on technology. And then when the app breaks down, we have kids who over-rely on technology who don't know where to go next. Whereas, right, so I mean, working with kids to help develop those skills and then figuring out where do we maybe have to make some exceptions. I hear you, and I don't disagree with you at all. I think we just need to figure out where those sort of push points are.
And I think the feedback on note-taking is, yes, students may have a device, but that device may be closed, maybe in their bag, may not even come out during that class, but there's something they want to jot down as a note. And they're used to doing that electronically these days, and that will be taken away. I do think, definitely I would encourage you to look at whether it's ASC. I do agree with what Michaela said. There's a lot of downtime in ASC. Students have done their work, and they're not all students are just sitting there watching social media. Like, I'm not saying, if you want to say you may not use social media during the school day, I actually have no problem with that. But if some kid's sitting there and they're working on learning a new language, well, instead of just sitting there doing nothing at ASC, I mean, it's something we should almost be encouraging versus preventing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments? I had a question. So if our goal here is to improve academic outcomes, and teachers are basically saying that cell phones are distracting a lot of our students from what's going on inside the classroom. From a practicality standpoint, so right now a lot of teachers have the pouches that are close to the door, or like someplace for kids to put the cell phones in. Is the handbook language basically going to strongly encourage that procedure, or it just blanket says cell phones away from beginning to end?
The language is precisely cell phones must be kept off and stored away during the entire school day in bags, backpacks, or lockers. And again, I know we don't have a lot of students who use lockers, but we have most of our students using bags or backpacks. We want to take the management piece away from teachers.
Okay.
The feedback from teachers has been that's been time to manage at the door. It's been unwieldy. Students can easily grab those cell phones when they leave to go make a call or do what they're going to do in the bathroom. Again, not all students are doing that. I understand that. But the idea has been a more consistent approach across the building so that the distraction is off and away.
Okay. All right, any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you very much, Amy, for the presentation and feedback.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, and just to let the community know, the handbook, we will be voting on approving the handbook later on this summer. So stay tuned. Okay, so I think now we'll move back to our old agenda item that we took out of order. So we'll move to budget items.
Sure. So tonight, we've invited Dustin O'Brien, our food service director, to attend and to discuss the food service transfer to the end of the fiscal year. Thank you, Dustin.
Yeah, of course. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thanks for having me tonight. I almost opted for shorts, but I thought that it could have been bad taste. So I present at school committee once a year. So I like to always, it's good to present at the end of June. It gives us a really clear picture of how the year went. I'm a numbers person, so what's getting passed around is a snapshot of how the year is done. As you know, I've been here for 3 years, so really started to get a feel for the district, what students like, and what sort of track we've been on post-COVID. As we're aware, one major challenge that came out of COVID was the participation piece, right? And we're finding at different buildings, Galvin specifically this year, was like, how do we combat the participation piece with the lunch schedule? And I think Galvin did a really good job this year with staggering some of the lunch periods. That's something that I think we'd like to probably see district-wide. But that's like one piece that comes out of COVID that's not necessarily like looked at always. So I just wanted to note Galvin's piece on that. So real quick, just to go down, meals. So we've surpassed 500,000 meals for the second year in a row. We've seen a minor dip in revenue. So our revenues generated from federal and state reimbursements, but also vending, a la carte purchases, anything we run for catering, outside events. So it's not, when we're talking about meals, it's not like strictly breakfast and lunch meals, just to be clear. Revenue per meal, we saw a minor dip. We did see a minor dip in some of the reimbursement rates that were proposed to us at the beginning of the school year. But this was where our focus was for FY25 was our food costs. We have challenges operationally, that we'll probably talk about later this evening. But this was where we really put a focus on our commodity processing piece. And commodity processing is when we divert USDA, poultry, meat to a particular manufacturer, and we integrate that into our buildings. And as you can see, we saved a significant amount of money this year. And this was something that we really tasked the group on about inventory, how we're purchasing, how can we be creative on as little items to bring in as possible. And I thought this was kind of a shining star for the year on the food cost piece. Labor, that's not exponential change. That's kind of like what in line we would see from year to year. But what we see going into next year is going to be significant. So just a couple of highlights. I just wanted to give a shout out to our team. We have a really hardworking team district-wide. Over these past 3 years, we've seen a lot of growth from some internal team members, and I just wanted to recognize a few people that we had promoted internally and have really flourished this year, and then just note a couple of staff that are either leaving or were outside hires. And the first off, in no particular order, is Marcy Manzi. She was a food service worker at the Dolbear, and we, I don't want to use the word forced, but tried to, hey, we have an opening at Walton. Your husband works there. Do you think you want to, go and help us out for a bit? And she ended up staying for a month and really liked it, and really excelled in that building, kind of turned it around. So Marcy Manzi, one. 2 people at the high school, Trish Turner. She's still growing in her position as the kitchen lead, but has taken on a lot. She's one of our team members that basically got the perfect star in attendance this year, and she she's still growing and learning, but she's a really hardworking team member to recognize. April Lander is a outside hire that we brought in as an assistant kitchen manager, and she's a complete breath of fresh air, really lightens up the mood in the kitchen, so we're happy to have her. And I just wanted to recognize Mary Peavy, who she's leaving us this year, but she gave 10 years to the Greenwood School in a lead position. A couple other highlights, at the beginning of the school year, we did a full meal pin changeover. We were having some accountability issues. Students were gaining access to other PIN numbers via email and other creative processes. So I wanted to give a shout out to Donna Cushman that we changed all those over, changed some of the vending codes, and had that was actually very successful very quickly. With the help of Tim O'Brien here to my right, we replaced all the tables at the Galvin cafeteria. That was a cost that came out of the food service budget. And we repurposed some of the existing tables here at the high school in the interim until we get to the new building. I already noted the food cost piece, and I just wanted to say that with the group, we settled our CBA with the team. They were really easy to work with, and it was a good back and forth, and it was well deserving how that went through. And then our outlook for next year's staffing looks very strong. We filled up most of the gaps. Might have like a few pieces that might change over the summer, but those are kind of the things I wanted to note. And as far as challenges for the future, I think one that we're seeing is the funding uncertainty. We've already seen some grants suspended. We had a local produce grant that we relied on heavily the past 2 years. That's been suspended for FY20. That'd be FY26. And then obviously at the federal level, with different programs getting squeezed, that's something that we're always considerate of. A few other restrictions is just hiring. For our group, 5-hour, 4-hour positions are very important to us. So we have to get really creative on how we piece people together outside of a 5-day work week. If we hire someone at 3 days for 6 hours or 7 hours a day, and I think this is what we'll talk about tonight is the chargeback. So the chargeback piece is obviously an operational challenge for us. It's not a monthly recurring cost, so it's something we have to kind of project on what's going to happen at the end of the year. But that's just something that when we came into the second year of this chargeback happening, that's when we really started to look at, okay, what can we attack in a sense to help support this town chargeback, and that was obviously our food cost piece for the past year. So happy to answer any questions if there are. Hopefully that wasn't too long-winded.
Does anyone have any questions?
If I could just chime in too. When Dustin arrived 3 years ago, we had quite a number of vacancies in these roles, so we had to outsource with an outside agency. So kudos to Dustin and his staff who have really networked and recruited. So this 26 to be fully staffed is an incredible accomplishment. So thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I remember during our interview there was 9 openings, and Christine promised they'd be filled by the time I got here, and that
didn't happen.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
How did that work out?
Still took the job.
Dustin, can you maybe dig in a little bit to where you found those? I mean, that's a significant savings on food costs, and especially where losing your grants and those being suspended. I'm pretty impressed with sort of the level of cuisine that you're able to provide and still sort of be able to save the district this level of money.
Yeah, so I think like I mentioned earlier, I think the commodity processing piece, we almost had like a 98% usage. So how the commodity processing works is we basically have to forecast in the spring of the prior year for the future year. And that's split up into a few different things. It's split up into what's called DoD produce, which is Department of Defense produce. How about farms across the country? So we allocate there. We allocate to obviously our diversion, which is our commodity processors. That's the bulk of it. And you find over years what might have been popular as a product in my past district isn't necessarily popular here, or it even happens. It happens between like elementary level, we have leads that are staunch on like, oh, they don't like that here, but they like this. So like we have to be creative across kind of every building as to what we provide. But I'd say the commodity processing piece and getting the group to buy in on that, and the staffing concerns that we probably faced the last couple of years was bring in what you think you need. Get it in the door, let's have it. That we really pinched that this year. It was like, so I think that's probably the pieces to it. Obviously, we did a few more, we did a few less meals than we did in past years, but it doesn't equate to, it's a significantly smaller number of savings just off of meals, so.
Great. And one other question is, in terms of the free meal vouchers that we have now, I know part of that comes from the federal government, part of that comes from the state government. Sort of in what you're hearing, what you hear from sort of other districts and your peers, like, is there concern around sort of reallocation of like SNAP benefits or anything that like might affect sort of how we get reimbursed for student meals?
So I think what we've seen outside of the National School Breakfast and Lunch Program, I think, is probably a determining factor of what might happen to us. I'm not hearing from other districts. I'm not hearing from other districts about their concern for next year. I don't necessarily see that concern for Massachusetts. I think the state would probably step in to support if there was this federal pinch, but I'm only seeing it on the grants level. Like, it was a pretty quick support from food service directors in Massachusetts to try to reinstate those grants, but that didn't come to a head yet.
Okay.
And then as far as SNAP or are you familiar with PBT, the summer meal assistance? So that actually got reinstated. It got I would say rebranded as Sunbucks, so that's back in for this summer. We've already sent in all the data that's needed for that. Families would be contacted by DTA on their benefit allowance. So I think my concern is what's going to happen to our reimbursement rates in August. Okay. I think that's where we would see the shift.
Okay. Thank you.
And unfortunately, August is a difficult time for us because Dustin's doing his ordering and we don't know what that reimbursement's going to be. And as you can see, there's a little bit of trend. I know it went down a penny, but any decline is still a loss of revenue. So one of the other reasons Dustin is here is he's been asked to review the chargeback request from the town, and we made an agreement that we would bring that forth to school committee every year about what that number looks like and what the program can afford. And we were going to do that year by year because of all these unknowns going in. So the number that you have in front of you tonight is for fiscal 25. Dustin's done a really deep dive just to make sure that he's vetted the numbers, make sure everything's accurate. And then we do have a recommendation that for 25, the program can afford this transfer to the town. But we welcome any questions about that.
Yeah, I guess my one question is, I guess reiterating what Christine just said, but Dustin, do you feel comfortable with the amount of this chargeback? Like,
so I think we made
ahead of
those
next fiscal year.
Not to cut you off, I think we tried to make those. We saw, in a sense, we saw what was coming, right? We got this request in June of the first year I was here, so that was like that was a little bit of a curveball for us. We had the dialogue last year about it. We dug into the numbers. I think it came down significantly from what was initially requested. I'm in line with Christine on you have to look at this every year because it's going to come to a head where the program can't, the program will not be able to afford it. We're going to have a significant labor adjustment going into next year. We're going to have to still be really tight on the food cost piece. So to give context for a year, this chargeback, this basically makes us break even for the year. So if we look at that a year out and we're looking at a potential 100,000 increase to labor, we'll be at a shortfall you know, 150 shortfall, because I think they've already projected what next year's request is going to be. You know, as we've mentioned, we've gone away from this temporary staffing agency, and we're hiring new team members, which will only increase all of these line items. So
what you'll see in the next couple of months is when I report on the final financial reports for this revolving account, what will happen is Dustin does a balance sheet every year about profit and the revenues coming in, the cost of the program. So what he's talking about is this year, this will put him in the negative for this year. So that draws down for that balance that the town and everyone at FinCom and the town meeting, we're talking about reducing those accounts. So by really, you're taking away from the balance, you're taking away from the revolving account, but that's not a way to sustain this program going forward. We're trying to make sure we have 3 months of reserves at any time, because we don't know when the reimbursements will come in. So we still have to make sure we can pay our bills and pay payroll. So all that into consideration, by reducing that, I think it was just slightly over $1 million, but we haven't finished paying all the bills for this year. So it's going to slowly decrease probably in the next year and a half. So that's why it's really important for us to come to you every year and just outlay what a year in review looks like, and then what this amount, because this amount, if, you know, workers' comp can go up, this number could dramatically increase year over year.
Yeah, and I think districts have been seeing this increase to the insurance, and just a pre-COVID piece. You know, if there was ever this doomsday scenario where meals did revert back to a paid situation, you'd have that participation drop. You'd revert back to your revenue of, you know, whatever FY19, FY20, which was probably around 900,000 in revenue. And that's our labor is approaching that. So we do look at it in a sense of like the revolving balance is healthy at the moment, but it could flip really quickly. So
I think this will be a point of conversation as we go into budgeting next year, and something that we'll need to look at likely in January.
Okay. So Christine, you're looking for a motion to transfer the money?
So I don't know if we had a motion in the packet.
We do not have a motion in the packet.
But
I just didn't know if you needed it before the fiscal year.
We
so-
do need an approval from school committee tonight.
Right, gotcha. Okay. Do you want to make a
Yep, move that the school committee approve the recommendation of the administration to transfer $221,957.35 from food services to the town.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? That's 5-0. Motion passes. Thank you very much for the presentation. Okay, now we'll move on to the rest of the superintendent's remarks.
Thank you very much. I'd still, with your permission, like to take my items out of order.
Absolutely.
And I'd like to invite up to the table Estelle Burdick to talk about the summer program. Good evening, Estelle.
Good evening.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for inviting me. It's my pleasure to share with you our Wakefield Academy summer program setup. All of our programs are located at the Galvin Middle School. This works very well in collaboration with our extended school year program. And they consist of 3 distinct programs. Our first program is our Wakefield Academy. It's called WOW, Warriors of Wakefield. It's our academic program, and in this program we have students from rising 1st grade to 6th grade covered. It runs Monday through Friday, 8 to 12. Monday through Thursday, 8 to 12. And it consists of ELA, math, and a hands-on science program. The primary focus of the program is academic growth and maintenance for our students. So it gives them a place to land in the summer where they won't have the regression that can be seen when you're out of the classroom. And it also gives a little boost to those students who want a little extra academic dip to prepare them for the upcoming school year. This program also includes our multi-language learners, which we're excited to be able to include that component of our academic program. It gives them the support through 2 ESL teachers that we have that go into the classroom or provide more small group learning for those students. And this really has given a great boost to those students going into September, and they get a preview of what's going to be expected in the classroom. So it really gives them a little more confidence as they come in. Our ESY students, as I mentioned, we work very closely with our extended school year program. Our students that are in ESY, if they're in our academic program and they qualify for tutoring, but not a full summer support program through their IEP, they get that tutoring in collaboration with ESY. So our ESY teachers will come up, grab them, just like a typical school day, give them that dip of support, and then back to the classroom they go. And typically we have our science block at the end of their time with us, because that's the carrot that keeps them coming. So that hands-on piece really entices all of our students, and it's accessible for our multi-language learners as well as all of our other students too. So it really gives them a peer enjoyment and collaboration in the science. We have, in that program, we have 146 students enrolled across 8 classrooms. We have 2 first grade classrooms, 2 second grade classrooms, 1 third grade classroom, 2 fourth grade classrooms, and 1 combined 5-6 classroom. So those students participate over the 5 weeks. They can choose 1 week, 2 weeks, or all 5 weeks. That's up to them. They do have to choose a week at a time. All of these classrooms are supported by Massachusetts certified teachers, some Wakefield, some outside of Wakefield, and all are supported by our Wakefield ISPs. So it's a great opportunity for our students to see a familiar face as well, and they enjoy that experience with us. Our second program is our summer camp. This program is for grades K to 5. The program is really a camp experience. So if you think about an away camp, you have all the benefits of that camp, but not having to go away. So you get to stay in Wakefield, stay in your comfortable bed, and not have a roommate that scares you. So this way, the students get to really enjoy all their time with us. And I always think of, we have students that go away for the summer or things like that. These students get so much experience with us, with events and enrichment programs that we provide and shows, that they end up coming back to the classroom and having a ton to write about in September. So it really gives them an excitement to be with us. This program also has themed weeks. So we have example Party in the USA for next week when we open on the 30th. So it's apropos for our 4th of July. And then we have Winter in July and Hollywood MA instead of California. We have Wild West, which is one of our most sought after weeks because we have digging for gold and things like that, panning, I should say, for gold, but we use sand instead of water. But there's a lot of fun activities for the students to be engaged in. So our little ones coming up from pre-K, they're technically kindergartners, but they're still tiny little babies. And having them come in and just see their faces and enjoyment that they have with all of these different activities. In this program, we expose the kids to games, crafts, and team building activities, so they learn those skills. And they also work very hard on their social skills and engaging peer-to-peer without a device, without any electronics. So it really gives them that learning experience for them. We have 198 students enrolled in this program. Approximately 130 to 140 attend each day, again, Monday through Thursday. This program, we changed it this year from a 2 half-day or full-day option to just a full-day option to try to ease transitions and make it a little easier to our staff and working with that number of students. We anticipated that the enrollment would drop a little due to that, but it actually increased. So that was a pleasant surprise. But the great thing about this program is we have WPS teachers, ISPs, high schoolers, college students, as well as Wakefield community members that work in our program. So it really is a community-based program, and it gives a broad area of support for our students when they leave our summer camp, especially for our younger ones. They're going into the classroom and they'll see those familiar faces. So it gives them a caring and loving environment to go into the classroom and take a little of that edge off, especially for, like I said, our kindergartners. We also partner with our ESY. With this camp, we do offer the half-day option for the PM for our extended school year students, so they get a full-day coverage, so families have that support if they need it. It also goes in collaboration with our academic program as well, so families do have that ability to have their full-day covered. We don't want any student who needs academic support to have a disadvantage because they won't have the camp. So we do offer that in collaboration with our ESY. Finally, our third part is our WOW enrichment programs. And if you have any little ones, you know our enrichment during the school year is extremely popular with our families. This is an elective style program, so families opt into joining, say, a kid's test kitchen for their child. They are a little different in the sense that they are week-long, Monday through Thursday programs, but they are hosted by the same vendors that we have during the school year, and also some of our teachers run programs, in particular golf is very popular, which I had no idea it would be so popular with our younger students, but our middle school students thoroughly enjoy that program. We have 19 programs running over the 5 weeks with 34 individual week-long classes included in that. And some of our vendors are Kids Test Kitchen, Wicked Cool Science, who also provides our curriculum for our academic program. And it allows the families to really customize their schedule. So if you don't want to join a full camp or anything like that, then you can just dip in to an enrichment, which is offered up to grade 8. So that gives a little support there. They're still open on the LED system if you do want to join. So to close, I just want to say that Wakefield Academy offers a safe, engaging, and developmentally appropriate summer for our little ones, and it provides a strong emphasis with our community, the continuity for the school year, as well as enriching our students' experience. And I want to thank you so much for inviting me tonight and for your continued support in our program, and we greatly appreciate it. And I want to thank all of our staff as well for the dedication that they offer our students. Couldn't do it without them.
Great, thank you so much. Does anyone have any comments or feedback? Pete?
Estelle, for the programs that are not required services to offer to students, did we have to turn anyone away, or were we able to accommodate every student who wanted to attend?
We had a wait list, but thankfully we were able to take everybody off the wait list.
That's amazing. And I mean, my kids did this programming when they were younger, and I know back then it was just an amazingly affordable program for the amount that is offered. So I think it's great that we can offer this to families and give their kids something fun to do and enriching and teach them various things as well, and still keep it affordable for them. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I would just like to echo what Pete said, that like since my kids were in kindergarten, like the amount of enrichment activities, like through your programs, the Wakefield Youth and Parks and Rec program, the wealth of opportunities is really awesome. Not just in the summer, but really the whole year. So just thank you very much for helping run that.
Thank you so much.
I had a question about sort of the way that students access the additional supports. Is a portion of it, and maybe you might know this also, Karen, is a portion of it voluntary, like parents can sign their kids up if they think they might need help, and is some of it recommended? As in, like, it comes from their teachers, or?
Not typically. I think the recommendations are typically through the special education program that the Elsowitz runs. That's those decisions are made at team meetings, but the academic option through Estelle is all kind of, it's available to everyone who signs up. Sometimes we will have teachers, maybe, parents are asking them advice or recommendation on, are there any summer options around that would be good? I know it's often recommended. I've reached out to Estelle too if I've been in a parent interaction where they've asked me for recommendations. Is that fair to say?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's great. I know, because I get all the emails, so I know that something I'm impressed by is that your list of offerings, it seems to increase every year. And not only does it increase, but then you also have a lot of the same sort of collaborations coming back. And so I think that, to me, signals that that it's a good program to partner with. And so that just kind of speaks volumes. And the amount of students that you, not just during the school year, but during the summer that you serve is pretty impressive. And I hear nothing but good things for the families that find the opportunity to enroll their kids. So thank you for finding the resources and for making this available to Wakefield families.
Thank you so much. We work very hard to provide the families while changing it up a little bit, but also provide that steady predictability so that our students who come up through the years get to experience the same things that their siblings experienced, and it just provides an extra value add for us. So we're excited to be able to offer as much as we do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Estelle.
Thank you.
Nicely done.
Have a great night. And good summer.
Yeah. We hit the ground running on Monday.
Next, we welcome up Tim O'Brien to give an update on our new construction, our high school. Thanks for being here, Tim.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me. Good evening, everybody. I'll provide you a very brief update with what's going on site. Since the end of the school year, we've seen a pretty drastic uptick in activity on the job site. We went from a number of about 50 laborers on site to near 200. The biggest struggle there is parking, of course, while we still have students on site. That's something we're working on early summer. I've scheduled meetings between myself, representatives from the police department, the Voc School, Joe Mullaney here at the Wakefield Memorial High School. We want to make sure that going into next school year, we have proper signage and stickers for students to make sure that people are parking where they should be, in spaces that they should be, and we're going to try and make that be a smoother process for next year. So more to come there. But for the update, we've seen the exterior sheathing come to near completion. If you're walking by and entering WCAT, it's really drastic to see the progress that's been made in recent months. We've also seen roofing on buildings D and E continue to progress. The rest of the building, so it's separated into 6 buildings, A, B, C on the right side if you're looking at the front door, D, E, and F on the left. So we're complete on A, B, and C and working on D and E now, and we'll be progressing even further. It's a PVC membrane roof. So you may see components of it. It's a white roof. It's something that you don't always see. It's not, been more common until recent time. Part of that is it's a more energy efficient process. It's more environmentally friendly. It also reflects heat rather than absorbing it. Makes the building a little more energy efficient, stays cooler, which on days like today will be much appreciated in the future. Concrete pours continue in those same buildings that I mentioned, focused more on the D, E, and F side. Those buildings house the servery. They house the new WCAT studio as well as central office. So that just more progress on slab on grade and floors in the building, as many of you saw during the tours that we took recently. The sort of the bizarre thing for me looking at progress is when the windows started to go in. that's when you really start to feel like we've got a building. And those windows have wrapped around to the Hemlock side and are now starting on the front side of the building, which is exciting. I think the plan is to have the building completely enveloped prior to any snowfall this year. So that's something that I talk to Jerry Hammersley, who's our general superintendent, frequently about. That's one goal of his that he's really focused on. And if there's one thing I know about Jerry, that if he says he's going to get it done, he's going to get it done. So they're flying. Stair sets have been installed, so they're no longer accessing the building through exterior, stair sets, which is great progress. I want to mention as well, Burnett Field is complete and was accessed by the softball team at the end of their season. Of course, we would have rathered have them access the field at the beginning, but in abundance of caution and out of safety measures for the team members, we wanted to make sure that things were the condition that they needed to be so we don't have any unnecessary injury to our athletes. Very important. I also want to thank those of you who were able to make it to our recent tours, and I want to make sure that you know that it's available as you are available for the remainder of the summer. So if we'd like to coordinate more of those tours, I would love to join you and go out there and see some of this progress for ourselves in person. I know that there's been a lot of documentation, and a lot of that can be seen on WakefieldMHSproject.com. So I just like to reiterate that every time I'm in front of a microphone so that folks can kind of see what's going on and enjoy it for themselves. And for a construction update, that's what I've got for now. Does anybody have any questions for me?
I would just say the softball team is doing clinics. Monday was going to be today. They called it off because it was too hot. So Wednesday and Thursday with like some of the softball youth in town. And because of the temperatures, they came off of Landrigan and they were working out on the Burnett Field, and it looks amazing.
It does.
So really good job.
Yeah, we're making, I met with some folks from Bond today. They're making adjustments to the irrigation schedule while they still own the field to make sure that, there's some distressed parts of the grass. We want to make sure that it's being properly watered and it's getting what it needs. I generally don't involve myself in field maintenance, but I can't help myself sometimes, so I get into things that maybe I shouldn't. But so we're working, trying to put our best foot forward to make sure that the whole campus is going to be as nice as it can be. So very exciting stuff.
Can you share a little bit, Tim, about the schedule and the budget?
Sure. On time, under budget. That's an easy one. I think Bond has done a phenomenal job, as well as, permanent building committee and their discretion, and just working together really smoothly. We meet on Thursdays every month in the project management team, and it's, everybody has been just incredibly easy to work with, a lot of great judgment used. I think timing on this project has been fantastic, where we sort of budgeted for the project at a time when construction costs were high, and then as things settled out, we received our funding, and we're in a unique spot where we're able to come in under budget, much unlike other communities nearby, and that's through skill and some luck. And I think we have a great team managing this project, and we'll hopefully continue that pace. And so we're still right on target to open Jan 1, 2027, and complete the project by the end of that year.
Great.
Cool. That's great. Any other comments? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Tim. Outstanding.
Before I take off, I do want to recognize a retirement that we have. Kenny Melanson is retiring from the Daw Bear as the lead custodian. He's been with us for near 36 years at this point.
Yeah.
He's a staple in the school system. Kenny has worked in a few buildings, but right now is at the Daw Bear, and it's just major contributions for Kenny. I've learned a lot from him myself in the 4 years I've been here. Thank you. And I just want him to know, and I want folks in town to know how much we appreciate him and how much we'll miss him. Hopefully we will have him back as a substitute. I'm going to have to probably encourage that a little bit for him. We'll give him some time to relax, and then I'll start nudging him to come back and fill in where we need him. But we appreciate him, and I want to recognize his retirement.
Thank you for including that in the comments.
Absolutely.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Maybe we can get a tour scheduled for August?
Anytime you want.
Appreciate that.
We can do it. We can do it tonight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So proud of the team we have. Really grateful. Such a good group. Just moving up to items C and D, we are seeking approval of salary ranges for our non-reps, for our administrative staff for FY26. We're seeking the support of school committee.
Here, do we have a motion?
We do. Move that the school committee approve the salary ranges for FY26 for non-representative administrative staff, including district administrators and coordinators, IT staff, and building principals, as presented, and to authorize the superintendent to negotiate and execute individual employment agreements within these ranges.
Second.
Is there any discussion on this motion? Seeing no discussion, I think we can enter a roll call vote, right? Or no?
No.
We just do, I can just ask.
I would maybe just have one point of discussion, which
Sure.
would just
Oh,
be
yeah, I'm
that,
sorry.
just so that people don't think that we just saw this and that we're going to vote it into motion, that we did have a discussion about this in our finance and facilities meeting, and sort of, came to this as a group after a little bit of discussion.
Okay.
To bring it before the full committee.
All right, thanks, Steve.
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor? 5-0 in approval.
Thank you so much. We are also seeking the support and approval of the new school business administrator contract for FY26 to 28 for Christine Rufagna. This is nothing radical here. Christine has been amazing for us. She's been an integral part of our district leadership team, and we've discussed this both at the subcommittee level and also in executive session. So I appreciate the feedback that you've provided.
Do we have a motion?
Yes. Move to approve the renewal of the employment contract for the school business administrator for the term of fiscal year 2025 through fiscal year 2028 as presented.
Second, I just have a question. Is it 2678 or?
It
okay.
is.
So can we correct that motion?
It's a 3-year contract, 26 through 28.
Yeah, that's a typo. It's not.
Yeah, it's I'll just withdraw that and I'll do a new one.
Yep.
Move to approve the renewal of the employment contract for the school business administrator for the term of fiscal year 2026 to fiscal year 2028 as presented.
Second.
The motion has been seconded. Do we have a discussion? I
Go
think
for it.
Pete
Good.
beat you to the punch.
I just want to give my thanks to Christine. We've been very lucky to have you, Christine. Anytime I've ever written to you, I always get the answers to the questions I'm looking for. You've always been accessible to anyone from the finance committee when they have questions. And anytime we've been told we need more information, the information always comes. And I think that, you tell us all the information. We've heard about the fiscal cliff. We have all the information we need to make the decisions, and we're very lucky to have you in the district, and very thankful you're going to be with us for at least another 3 years. So thank you.
Thank you, Pete. That means a lot. Thanks.
I wish I went first because I can just be so secretive.
That's
but
fine, that's
just
fine.
thank you for all your hard work.
Thanks, Kevin. No, I
The
appreciate
superintendent
that.
just said he's really proud of the team, and obviously you are a big part of that as well. So enthusiastically
That means
support
more.
you remaining here, and
Thank you.
really enjoy working with you.
Yeah, Christine, kind of echo what both Pete and Kevin said. I think that one thing that's really impressive working with you is your communication is really, really great. Like whenever we do send an email, you do shoot an email right back. You're great in answering questions. For those of us like me who are not really that educated with doing budgets, you are very good at educating us. And yeah, so
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
And it's really all been said, but certainly thank you. It has been it's been a very, very busy 6 years, and it's been a very complicated 6 years, and you have navigated us well.
Thank you.
So thank you for your
been a
commitment to
pleasure.
Wakefield.
Thank you. I can't say enough about the team, Doug and Kara. I mean, I couldn't work for a better team. So thank you so much.
They're okay, but this is really about you.
Yeah. One at a time. That'll be next year. So one at a time.
Thank you.
All right. All those in favor? 5-0 and approval.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Just last comments and updates from myself and from all of the administrators and faculty and staff. We want to wish all of our students and their families a safe and healthy summer. And if there's anything that we can help with, if you're on campus or you need to reach out, please do not hesitate to do so. I also have one more just comment is tomorrow will be the last day to register to be part of the lottery for school choice. We've sent this out on social media, and we've posted an email, and we've got that out. We've sent out an email to the community, and so if anyone has any questions about that, please don't hesitate to reach out. With the exception of that, again, have a happy and healthy summer. So thank you so much.
So do you happen to have a number as to if people have entered the lottery? Do we actually?
We don't have any yet.
Okay.
We have 8 spots, and we have no applicants as of yet.
So their success may be 100% if they enter the lottery.
It's one way to look at it.
That is one way to look at it, yes.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, Jimmy the Greek over here is giving the odds on the lottery.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lyons. You all set?
Yes, I am. I appreciate
Sure?
it. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Okay, so this is my first day as chair, so sorry it's a little bumpy, but hopefully within a few meetings I'll be on track. All right, so we do have a motion in order for the superintendent's contract.
Yes. Move to approve the superintendent's fiscal year 26 contract with a salary adjustment for a COLA of 3.5%.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Tom?
I would just say that it is consistent with the approval of moments ago when we approved the non-represented administrative staff ranges. And it has been part of the discussion, as Stephen mentioned, for a few finance subcommittee meetings. And so it's within the expected range, number one. And number two, I would say that it is consistent with the evaluation that the school committee gave of Dr. Lyons a couple of meetings ago after a strong couple of years of performance.
Pete?
And I'll just echo what Tom said. We're very lucky to have you here, Dr. Lyons, and Wakefield, I think, has a very productive relationship between our town administration, our finance committee, our school committee, and our superintendent. And I wish I could say that every town in the Commonwealth had that same well-oiled working relationship. But, you know, when you see it in action here and you see what happens in other communities, you realize we're very, very lucky. And so I am fully in support of this and just wanted to give my thanks for your service.
Thank you.
Yeah, one thing that I noticed, you know, even with Stephen Mayo, you know, coming and being recognized, I think that we are fortunate that we have, like all of you have been here since I've been on school committee, you've been here for a while, and just to have the longevity, not just the, you know, the competence, but the longevity and the experience, I think is good. Specifically for Doug, but.
Thank you.
know,
No, I
for the
appreciate that.
district. Yeah. All right, any other comments? Okay. All those in favor? 5-0 in approval. Okay, next on the list, I have to make some subcommittee assignments. So I am just going to read these out. So I'm just going to go to the 4 different subcommittees, and then I'm going to make the liaison assignments. So I'm going to start with student services. The 3 school committee members on student services will be Alex Nauman, Stephen Ingalls, and myself. Kevin Fontanella, and Stephen Ingalls is going to be chair of that subcommittee. For policy and communications, Melissa Quinn, Stephen Ingalls, and Pete Davis are going to be on policy and communications. Melissa Quinn is going to be the chair of that subcommittee. For labor, we have Alex Nauman, Kevin Piscatalo, and Tom Markham are going to be on labor, and the chair of labor is going to be Kevin Piscatalo. And for finance and facilities, Melissa Quinn, Tom Markham, and Pete Davis are going to be on finance and facilities, and Tom Markham is going to be chair of that subcommittee. Okay. Are there any questions? Okay. For the liaisons, for the Environmental Sustainability Commission, Stephen Ingalls, you're going to be the liaison to that group. I'll touch base with you because I was a liaison for the last year. For the Human Rights Commission, Pete Davis, you'll be the liaison on that. For CPAC, Alex Nauman will be the liaison for that group. Melissa Quinn for Youth Council, and for JLMC, Kevin Piscatalo. Liaison for that. Okay. All right, next for my items, we do have a motion. We do have to approve a school committee calendar so everyone knows when we'll be meeting for the next school year. So we've got a motion on the table.
Would move to approve the 2025-2026 school committee meeting calendar as presented.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on the calendar? Seeing no discussion, raise your hand for approval. Thank you very much, and the motion approves 5-0. Okay, and that is all I have. So next is subcommittee reports. So this will be the last time that, Tom?
Were we going to have a discussion and approval for Unit C?
You are correct.
Yeah, we're gonna
I'm
do it
sorry.
later.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
My bad.
fine.
Thank you very much, Tom. Thank you very much. Yes, we do have one more motion on the table. We have, as we've said before, we have settled a contract with Unit C. The union has voted upon that contract, and they have ratified their contract. So now it is upon us, before we can sign the contract with Unit C, we have to formally vote on the contract. So we have a motion.
Move that the school committee approve the successor collective bargaining agreement between the Wakefield School Committee and the Wakefield Education Association, Unit C, as negotiated and recommended by the Labor and Personnel Subcommittee for the period of September 1st, 2025 to August 31st, 2028.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Tom?
The only discussion that I'd like to make is really a thank you to not only the administrative leadership, but as importantly, the leaders and representatives of Unit C and the leaders and representatives of the WEA. This was a long process, but a thoughtful one and a collaborative one, and I think it is a strong result. A big part of the strong result is we are truly appreciative and recognizing the work of the Unit C members and the work that they do every day to support all of our students, but in particular those that have some particular needs. And this is a tremendous group of educators, and we're very lucky to have them. So I'm thrilled to be able to support this contract.
Pete?
Tom covered everything else.
Okay.
I would just add thank you to the Labor Subcommittee for putting in the hours that takes, because I know it's significant, and that it's really refreshing to have sort of this work be done, sort of going into the summer, knowing that we're going to start the school year with a successful contract that I think really works for the district and for Unit C. and recognizes them in that way, how important they are to our district. So thank you for your time as well, and also for acknowledging the work that they put into this, not only just in the negotiation, but every day. So thank you.
Yeah, I want to thank all the feedback that we got from community members, Unit C members, but a lot of parent feedback about how important our paraprofessionals, our Unit C members are for our students. So I'm sure a lot of us have received anecdotal feedback just for conversations with friends and other community members, but also through emails. But yeah, just hearing those stories just reiterates how important this particular unit is for the success of our educational system. So I'm very happy that we have what I consider to be a solid contract with Unit C. Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none. Right.
All in favor?
All in favor. Thank you. That's 5-0 in approval. Thanks, Tom, for seeing my admission. Okay, for subcommittee reports, Tom, has finance facilities met?
We have not. We have not met since the last meeting.
Okay. Labor and personnel.
We have not met either.
Okay. I assume student services has not met?
Nope.
Okay. Policy and communications?
We have not met.
Okay. Does anyone have any liaison reports? Pete?
Just give thanks to the Human Rights Commission. I was joined by many other members of this committee for a Juneteenth commemoration celebration back, I think it was on June 18th. They had some community members who spoke, members of the North Shore Juneteenth Association. There was a woman, and maybe Steve remember her name, but she was her speech was really, really impressive. Another one who was a great singer. They had some members of the Lynn English Junior ROTC who raised the flag. It was just a really nice opportunity for our community to just make sure we're telling people that they're welcome here in Wakefield. And I was really, every year that program impresses me. I wish we had more community members who came to see it, but it was still nice to see.
Yeah. Okay. All right, next item. Future dates and agenda items. Our next school committee meeting is on Tuesday, July 8th at 7 o'clock. And then we just approved the calendar, so the calendar will be sent to WCAT, and then that should be posted. If anyone on the committee has any agenda items that they want to see in the next meeting, please email me and/or Doug, so we can get those on. Next, school committee comments. Does anyone have any comments before we adjourn?
Your first meeting went flawlessly. Good for you.
Hear, hear.
My first meeting what?
Went flawlessly. Good job.
I forgot to approve the contract. That was kind of a big deal.
We're a team, man. That's why we're a team.
It takes a village. I would like to make a plug for the 4th of July parade that is still looking for sign holders. It's tough recruiting enough kids in this town. There's so many, as we talk about their opportunities, the kids are all eaten up with walking with their sports teams or with their scouts or, but there are, we could use a number of extra kids to hold signs for the people that sort of financially support the parade. So that would be helpful. And then it's a great way to see the parade. So, so there's that. I had one other thing, but what I could also share is I would say congratulations to, I believe, our new town councilor, Brian Fox. So it was a compressed race, 3 really good candidates. I know it was hard for anyone that filled out a ballot today. And the showing from town, it looks like probably somewhere north of 1,500 folks went out to vote on this hot day, and that's actually impressive for a ballot such as this. But it shows how important sort of town governance is, and that people took it seriously. So thank you to Wakefield for showing up, and thank you for these gentlemen for running. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Steve. Any other comments? All right, seeing none, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Move the school committee adjourn its meeting of Tuesday, June 24th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor? All right, thank you guys very much. See you in a couple weeks.
You have a family house down there?